Welcome to the Invest In Podcast, the show where we help you learn how to make more money through real estate and other passive investments. We're your hosts, Zac Hoyt and Eric Richner, entrepreneurs, investors, and the guys behind Maverick Asher Capital. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just getting started, buckle up because we're taking you on a journey to help you achieve the lifestyle of your dreams.
Now, let's hit the road.
Welcome back to the Invest In Podcast, where we uncover tons of ways to achieve the life of your dreams. Woohoo! I'm your host, Zac Hoyt, and today I've got some juicy real estate investing secrets for you. You're going to love this one. If you're in the game of real estate investing, if you are looking to get in there especially, and definitely if you're looking to level up, this is going to be an awesome one from my 2 decades of experience. These things, absolutely, I wish I knew in the beginning. Holy smoke. So stick in for all of that. And just as a little recap, if you were listening to some of the last episodes, last couple, we talked about different RV parks versus other real estate investment asset classes, basically options that you could invest in the real estate realm. And we described how there's big differences between them. And I've owned a lot of them, so I'm giving you firsthand experience. You don't have to make the same mistakes I do. That's part of the joy of what I'm doing, is giving these things to you guys so that hopefully you can move along in your career faster, get to your goals faster, spend more time with the people that you love faster. And that's what I'm trying to give out into the world, right? It's an abundant mindset. And hey, let's all work together and share these tips and tricks to just succeed more easily. That's kind of one of the secrets too, is just putting yourself out there and learning from other people. But I'll get into that in a little bit. So yeah, last episodes, we learned about the other real estate investment asset classes and how, frankly, they suck compared to RV parks, not only in general, but right now in the world with everything that's going on in the world, in the US, with the economy, with the interest rates, with the fact that it's a very small niche and nobody knows about it as much. Institutional capital hasn't made its claws and teeth and sunken into RV parks. And there's just lots of opportunity. I could go on and on and on. But that's what we did a little bit more in the last 2 episodes. And in the last episode specifically, we compared RV parks versus mobile home parks, which it was a long one. And we could have gone a little bit longer even, because there's just so much. They are so different, and yet they get lumped all in together at the same time. We don't like that because it's misinformation that's out there. I mean, in a way, we like it. It keeps people out of our asset class because they think it's like trailer park boys and mobile home parks and everything associated with that. And that's cool. But for the people that want to invest passively, that need to learn about the asset class of RV parks, there's misinformation. And so that's why we just need to get this information out there. And so that's an awesome one to check out for the differences and specifically why RV parks are so much better than mobile home parks. Sorry, mobile home park operators, but you know what you got. Right? So this week, oh my gosh, I'm going to be giving you 5 game-changing real estate secrets that just save you time and money. Don't we want all of that in life? More time to do whatever the heck we want to do, and money to help us get there and do those things, because everything costs us time and money. So if I could have had these secrets in the beginning 2 decades ago, I would have loved it. Give me a time machine where I can go back and talk to myself. And these are the things that I would be telling. These are some of the things that I'll be telling. And I'll drop more later because, man, I have a litany of a ton of these different secrets to give you guys. So stick in. All right, so let's get into it. 6 secrets for the real estate industry. First one is I mean, well, these are all nothing that I knew starting out, or I wasn't receiving them in a way. And so I really want to drive them home. This first one I had no clue about, but it makes sense. And the trick is, so number 1 secret, start with the end and plan your way backwards. So what are you trying to do at the end of all of this? And then work your way backwards so that everything else lines up like dominoes. I'm sure you guys have either played dominoes, had dominoes, tried to do something where it's just this stacking of dominoes that they all, one tumbles and hits the other. Well, if you have a break in your dominoes, what happens? The end domino never falls, and that's the biggest issue. Is you don't want to get stuck holding a bag of real estate, or even worse, a bag of liability on real estate, meaning you owe money on it and you have no way out. You have no way to either pay back your investor, you have no way to just get out of the situation. Maybe you need to liquidate. Whatever the heck that goal is, you need a way out. So this is for you. So let me give you a little bit of clarity with this one, starting at the end and planning your way backwards. So first off, you've got to figure out what is your exit strategy. And I hesitated on what is right there because you don't want more than one. You need to have backup plans for, I'm going to say, everything that you do in life. I was a Boy Scout, and their mantra was always, among other things, was always be prepared. So you need to be prepared for worst case scenarios. You need to be prepared for stuff that you don't know is going to happen, right? That hits you from the back, from the side. There's the things that we know. There's the things we know we don't know. And then there's the things we don't know we don't know. And those ones are the ones that really whack us in the world. And so you just have to prepare for all these different types of scenarios. And how to do that is to have flexibility in your end game. So even when you're putting a piece of property, for instance, if you're trying to buy a piece of property, I'll just call it property, whether it's a single family home, multifamily, RV park, anything, you're trying to buy something, you put it under contract and you've got some ways out. Right? In your contract, you have some type of inspection clause, due diligence clause like that. You've got a time frame. You probably have some other contingencies that are built in there, meaning contingency is something that the deal will not go through if this thing that it's contingent upon, this thing doesn't happen. And that thing could be that the inspection is not good. Right? We're just keeping it simple like that. If this inspection fails your criteria, if you're financing, you might have a financing contingency that could fall through if you can't get financing. Now, the more contingencies you have, the harder it is potentially to get the seller to sign it because there's less probability that the deal is going to happen because there's more ways for you to back out. But as a buyer, you want to have as many ways as possible to back out. Now, this conversation isn't to tell you all the different ways of putting contingencies into your contract. That could be a whole other separate episode. Love contracts, love dealing with all of that. There's a lot that goes into it. But this, what I'm trying to make is starting at the end and planning your way backwards. So in simplest terms, that a lot of you might consider is, all right, do you want to own this thing in the end? Do you want to own it for a short amount of time or a long amount of time? But do you want to own it? Like, because wholesalers can do things where they're just putting something under contract and then selling that contract. They're never owning it whatsoever. A bird dog might just be sending a lead to someone. A wholesaler is the next level up where they might get it under contract and then get a fee from someone else, but they are never on deed. They are never owning it. Beyond that, you kind of have what you would know as a fix and flipper. I would call a value adder because they're buying something. They're typically putting their name on the title, and then they're adding value. Maybe it's a single family home and they're making it nicer. They're doing something with it so that they can sell it on the market. Perhaps they're going to get rid of it at that point and then they're done. Sometimes flippers are just doing that. They're just making it better, selling it, and being done. So that's their end game with that, right? That's the end plan. But sometimes flippers, they like to elevate to the next level, which is landlord. So they want to own it for a longer amount of time, reap those tax benefits, reap that cash flow, that appreciation that happens with real estate. And they would own it for the long run. Well, what do they have to do? They're going to have to transition into a different type of funding because you might not know this if you're not in it. If you're in it, you know it. When you buy something for a short amount of time to do a value add, typically you're going to pay a higher interest rate during that period. It's a shorter time period. Let's call it 6 months to a year, less than a year for a single family home for sure. But bigger commercial property, multifamily RV parks, your value add time frame could be 2 years, could be 3 years. And there's different ways to structure each of those time frames accordingly. And those are called more like bridge loans. I guess we're working on vocabulary today and I didn't know it. But those are typically called bridge loans, and they're a shorter amount of time. It's not your typical 30-year fixed interest rate that you might be used to thinking about for a home that you live in, a single family home like that, or even one that you own as a landlord. So it's a short amount of time. So they'll take on the risk, they'll charge a higher interest rate, and it's a short amount of time because how long does it really take you to do some of these things? Shouldn't take you that incredibly long. So you move on, and then you either sell it on the market or you have to refinance it for a long-term debt product at that point, a different type of lender, so that you can own it as a landlord, we'll say forever, right? Until you get sick of it, until it's time to liquidate out of it for whatever your reasons are, until you want to pass it along to your kids. Maybe you want to upgrade to a different type of real estate. Maybe you want to just upgrade to a different class of real estate, not even just asset class, but just like you might hear that there's different grades of neighborhoods, A, B, C, D, A being the best, D being not the worst, because we have like a war zone level that's really below D, or maybe that is D. It depends on whatever. Anything below C is just really dodgy. C is very hairy to begin with. D is definitely dodgy. A couple alliteration D's in there. But you tend to want to upgrade over time just to have something that's more predictable. But whatever, your goals change over time, your appetite, your knowledge. You want to be able to get out and pivot and exit, and that's kind of the plan. So you want to start at the end and work your way backwards. And so the reason I say that is because if you want to have end game financing for something for 30 years with a bank, and we'll just call it a bank, even though it might actually be one of these other things called DSCR lenders or whatever. I won't get into that now, but I'm going to call it a bank for simplification. If you want to have that long-term debt product, well, you've got to qualify for that. Well, what if you don't have money in your bank? What if you don't have good enough credit? For some of these things that are bigger, what if you don't have the experience doing that? These lenders, they're not going to just give you the money and hope that you get the right experience. Depending on the one, there's different levels of qualifications that you have to have. Now, just because that you have to have those qualifications, there aren't ways of getting around that with different partners in your business. There's a way. That's a hidden secret within all of this, is there's a way of getting around everything. And I guess I'll bring that in later with number 5 on my list. But there's a way of getting around everything. But you got to know that there's certain qualifications that if you've got bad credit, it's not to stop you, but you just got to know how to solve that for that end lender. And if you don't have that solved, then don't go into it with no time left on your bridge loan and think that you're just going to get this solved in that moment, because you're going to create chaos in your life and you might not get it solved. I don't want to wish that you won't, but I'm just going to heavily say you might not get that solved. And then you get in a bad situation where you could lose money. You definitely lose trust. You can do a lot of bad things in that situation. So just know those qualifications from the end. So you've got that. Now you've got to work backwards one step. If you want to actually buy the property, someone's got to give you that bridge loan money to begin with. So what are those qualifications? Okay, cool. Maybe you don't have those. You don't have those figured out. Well, guess what? You should probably step back one step before that. And instead of owning it, wholesale it. You never have to own it at that point, and you just hand it off to somebody else, and you kind of work your way up. And heaven forbid you don't know how to get something under contract or even analyze it properly. Take one step back from that and bird dog it, literally just giving someone a lead and connecting people and saying, hey, here's somebody that looks like they want to sell their house. Here's you, the buyer, the person who's capable of doing it, who wants to buy the house. Let me marry you two together. And there's some official contracts that you could put into place for that, where you're this bird dog, you're this consultant, this marketing, whatever you can call it a lot of different things, but basically you can make money by just doing that first step until you're ready to go to the wholesaling step, until you're ready to going to actually owning it step, until you're ready to going to actually own it forever type of step. And even the forever, you got to figure out where you're looking to go. Sometimes there's prepayment penalties. If you sell within the first 5 years of that, you've got to pay more. And the point is that you really want to know what your exit strategy is and the steps that are along the way to get to that and the hurdles. And that's difficult to get to without someone's help a lot of the times, because it's just a lot of knowledge to absorb right away in the beginning. And so I'm just going to jump to the next, what I was going to originally do as number 5 in here, but I'm just going to talk to you about that now because it's folding in. And the secret with that is who and not how. Holy smokes. I've got a book on my bookshelf here by Dan Sullivan, is the author of Who Not How. And the basic principle around it is don't try to figure out everything. It's going to take, if you were to try to figure out everything in the world, it's going to take you the rest of your life, and you're not even going to scratch a percentage of it. What I realized with all these expensive pieces of paper that I get to hang on my wall now, these degrees that I got, is the more that I learned, the more that I knew in life, the dumber I felt, because the more aware I was of all the things that I had not even a cursory knowledge of. Like, I don't even understand basic information with some topics, right? I don't. And that's okay. I can do absolutely anything in a house. When it comes to a vehicle, I am extremely limited. I'd rather wire something up electronically in a vehicle than try to deal with changing a piece apart in the engine. And a lot of mechanics would have told me the same thing. They know everything with vehicles for the most part, but they don't know a darn thing when it comes to their own house that they live in. And so I'm not here to pass judgment on anyone, to say like, oh, you should know your vehicle. Oh, you should know your house. Yes, to an extent, or at least what I would say with this is who and not how. You're going to take it to a mechanic if you don't know how to deal with a vehicle, right? So similarly, find those find those people in the real estate game that can just elevate you quickly. They have tons of experience. They can take the blinders off of you and show you things that you wouldn't have even seen except way down the road. Who not how is a super powerful concept, because me as an engineer previously, I was always trying to figure out how of everything. It was just figure this out. I can figure out anything, absolutely anything. If I really want to, I can figure out anything. It's just a matter of time, and then we don't have, time in life to do those other things that we're doing. So it costs us money and costs us opportunity at that point. So it's a heck of a lot faster. And usually, because of that, it's cheaper just to find the who's. Now, you don't have to pay for these people, but you can work with them in different ways, offer to shadow them, say, hey, someone that's working on multifamily, for instance, RV parks, for instance, get in touch with me and say, hey, I'm really interested in this field, this getting into RV parks as an asset class. What can I do to help you out? Take that go-giving mentality and just offer someone your time and your ability to do something, and even your desire to learn. Show them that. And of course, I'm going to dole out onto this person. I'm going to be like, that's awesome. I see me in this person. I want to help them out. Sure, let's find a way that we can work together in some way. You can get knowledge. I can get, maybe it means RV parks. I can teach you how to find, uncover, and do that first initial grunt work with RV parks so that it helps us. And of course, that's one of the first steps that people need anyway, is to find the property. At least it's one of the things they think, except because they haven't heard that first secret, which is start at the end and work the way backwards. But this person that's shadowing me and helping me in what they think is the first step, which is finding an RV park for sale, they'll learn that step while they'll also have the conversation with me about starting at the end. And so I'll teach them the things that they would have no clue about that are preventing them from owning something in the end. And I'll be able to assess them. Hey, do you have this thing? They say, no, I don't have that. I'm like, that's okay. Maybe I could help you with that, because I do have these things, or there's other people that do, and we can connect in the dots and make everything all work at the end. Who, not how, is one of the most powerful ways of just moving faster in life. It's a lot faster to leverage someone else that already has a decade, 10,000 hours of experience on something versus you trying to learn anything. So, who, not how. Literally, who was the word of my year, 2022. Word of the year. And I really had to just embody that because I was not at the time. And I'm like, that's it. I've got no more time for this. I need the who. I need the who right now because I'm starting the family and I know that I'm going to run out of time. And it's like, stop being so pigheaded, thinking that you've got to know anything, everything, right? And maybe it's even a little bit of your ego and your pride. You don't want to ask for help. If you're resonating with that, I get it, right? That takes nothing away from you. Just edifying someone else that they're so good at something takes nothing away from you in that moment at all. And in fact, it ends up attracting that person towards you so that you can share some of those benefits. So, who, not how, for every single thing. Whenever you're thinking how to do something, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I solve this? Control Alt Delete, get rid of that how, and just replace it with the word who. Who, to how, instead of how can I get this done, think like, who can get this done? Who do I know that can get this done? Who can help me with this? Who has the answer for this? That is the secret sauce for moving fast. And it's going to save you tons of money in the end because you're moving faster and you're not hitting roadblocks. So that's an amazing one. Number 3 secret: creative financing for deal structuring. Holy smokes. If you guys listen to I think it's the second episode, that's where I talked about my rock bottom moment and how I got into real estate. Well, I had no money and destroyed credit. And little did I know that that was my secret driving, motivating factor to learn all the really fun creative finance things in the world. I had to learn all the alternative ways of making money, buying property, owning, controlling, doing everything in real estate because I did not have money and I had destroyed credit from a marriage. Check out the episode. It's a long, deep dive into me. And I have no problem sharing all that because looking back at it, of course, it was amazing because I didn't go a traditional route of financing a property with 20% down, going to a bank, having them analyze everything in my life, begging, pleading, hoping that things would work out. No. With creative financing, you don't have to go to a bank. You can do everything. You don't have money. You don't have to have credit. You don't have to have experience. All these things can happen right away with creative finance. And there's so many different ways of going into creative finance. This is literally one of the things I'm an expert in, thank God. From all the blood, sweat, and tears through the years, get this to be an expert in. Tons of experience with this. There's so many ways of doing creative financing, and it applies to anything that you do in life, frankly, anything that you're buying. You can apply these different types of techniques to. And so I could have episode after episode of different things to give you guys insights into that. If you're really curious about a specific thing, hit me up and ask me a question. Then maybe I'll make that a more recent topic that I uncover to you guys. But some simple things with creative financing, it's like owner or sometimes seller financing, it's called. The first person to ask for money is the person that you're buying it from, but like, why not? I love seller financing on RV parks, for instance. We're buying an RV park and marina right now where we have seller financing, and it's a win-win all the way around. So that's a great one. Taking over any what you might hear is subject to, taking over some of the properties subject to, and that subject to, it could be subject to the existing taxes. You're taking them on the responsibility right away as opposed to paying them off. Maybe it's subject to the existing mortgage. You can make those payments instead of the seller in all of that. Maybe it's subject to the existing conditions. There's lots of different things that can end up happening with that. And so it's really diving into, all right, what possibilities are there that we can solve a problem and just take on this property subject to. Other things that I'm just going to touch on, like doing a master lease on one or a bunch of different properties, or it could be a multifamily, could be anything. You can just do a master lease. You don't have as much control, but you have a master lease. You control the cash flow. There's also an option that you can put in place to buy, and that's similarly, you're betting when you're going to buy it at what price, but you're not set on that one thing. You're not agreeing completely. You're not marrying it completely. It's just an option. It's basically like dating. You're saying, okay, if this works out, yeah, I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to bet a little bit of money on this for that option. But you're not doing everything. You're not going all in. You're not jumping in. And then, there's lots of ways of buying a business too. Instead of buying the property, you could buy the business that owns the property. Simple as that. And like, think about that. And you're like, oh, well, why would you do that? Well, there's a lot of different situations where that could make sense. Even putting an option to buy the business as opposed to an option to buy the real estate. It's literally one of the things that we're doing right now with an RV park and marina to solve a problem that the seller has. And so probably go into that on another episode just to give you a project update and to give you that strategy. It's pretty amazing. So that's the one. It's creative financing. Holy smokes, it could be everything. Just Google that, start to learn more. And it's ways of solving problems when maybe you don't have some of the solutions or whatever, but it literally it opens so many doors. And it's an awesome way of thinking creatively about problems and coming up with solutions that are win, 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 win all around. Number 4 secret. Holy smokes. This is a great one too. These are all gold. These are absolute gold. Absolute gold. Use other people's money for literally everything. Everything. You might hear OPM, other people's money. The thing is, if you have $0 or you have anything more than $0 and you're trying to achieve a goal in real estate, in anything, any business that makes money, does anything, you have a finite amount of money. It's this amount of money, whether it's $0, whether it's $100, whether it's 100 grand, whether it's $1 million, whether it's 100 million, you've got a certain amount of money. Now, your problems are probably a lot different if you have $100 versus 100 million, but your things that you're going to go after and to try and achieve are usually a little bit different with your bank account there too. But the trick is always using other people's money for things because that can level you up to the next game that you're trying to play. Because literally the world has so much more money than you do. So much more money. So why not tap into that? Because all these people with lots of money, a lot of them are looking for opportunity. The savvy ones are just always looking to make their money not sit in a bank account at 0% because you're actually losing traction against inflation. They want to increase their value. So they're looking for some type of annual return. They're looking and there's many different ways of either like a debt where you're getting a definite return every year, or maybe you're in an equity on something where it's a gamble a little bit. And so you try to weigh those risks on that gamble that you're making. And with real estate, I would say that the gamble is always solidly based on obviously real property. And so at the end of the day, it's not like it's some company that could completely go bankrupt and go away. For real estate, at least, you always have that possibility of the dirt right underneath you. And so that can secure your money and make sure that you've got great capital preservation. So that's one of the many reasons why I love real estate as an investment class. It allows me to sleep really well at night. But other people's money, you can use that, whether it's, short-term, long-term, equity. There's so many different ways, so many freaking different ways, but I would just say don't use your own money and use other people's money for literally everything. That's the trick, because if you always plan and figure out how to use other people's money, you can always use your money. That's fine. But again, things are going to pop up in your life and your money is finite. So use someone else's money, because then you're uncovering all those techniques for if you need something in a pinch, guess what? The world has plenty of money. And if you have those pathways to get that money towards you, to attract it, to do something that's respectable and to secure other people's money, and you understand that whole conversation, then you're way ahead of the game and you'll be able to level up to the next thing you're looking to do with ease. So it's just something that you should always do, is talk about money and use other people's money, and don't think of it as like you're using. Sometimes the word using is like, oh, I'm using you for this, I'm using that. No, you're extending an opportunity they wouldn't have otherwise. They might be having their money sit in a bank or a CD, or maybe it's the stock market and it's going up and down. It's crazy, like it has been with everything, and it has in the past, and it will again in the future. So give them those things that they want. And maybe it is that reliable fixed interest per year that they know is secured at that point and allows them to sleep at night. They don't have to worry about what's happening and checking the news and checking what's going on this. Should I move my stock? Call my financial advisor, all those little back and forths with things they don't have to worry about. Most of the time, the difficulty is finding good operators and just operators in general that have the opportunities where it's structured in a way that's perfect. So other people's money for literally everything. This next tip, secret here, number 5, it's called marry the property, date the rate. So this is a great one, as interest rates, oh my gosh, interest rates have been so high, right? Everyone's saying they've been so high lately. They're in the 6s, they're in the 7s. Well, wake up, everyone. This is the average of what interest rates typically are. When you look back over time, this is what they are. And in fact, holy smokes, in the 80s, they got grossly through the ceiling with things. Everyone is just so fresh with the COVID era of interest rates when we saw a 2 point whatever interest rate. Insane. I anticipate fully that I will never see that in my life again. Maybe unless they extend life some different way. But even then, I mean, it's unheard of. And so that's why a lot of these multifamily people were buying and hoping that they were going to get out of these multifamily buildings with that real low interest rate. And they didn't. They didn't. So, they unfortunately didn't take this secret here to heart, which is just marry the property, date the rate. Make sure that that property is gold. Make sure that that thing is everything that you want it to be and more. Make sure that you're getting it at a discount, that there's lots of opportunity on the upside, that you're all protected, that the property itself, whether it's a single family home, multifamily, RV park, mobile home park, self-storage, whatever the heck it is, make sure that that property is amazing, the best thing in the world, right? And you would marry that property, right? That's the notion, is you want to marry this person, you want to marry that property. That's great, through thick and through thin, because the rate is going to go up and down over time, and that's fine. And so there's some people that sit on the sidelines that don't do anything when they think the interest rate is high. They stop looking on things and they lose opportunity, because interest rates will go down. Interest rates, everything will end up adjusting accordingly where it makes financial sense, as long as the asset class itself isn't ballooned and bloated, which I would say is exactly what multifamily is right now. It's one of the reasons I don't want anything to do with multifamily. And that's why a lot of institutional money, family offices, every type of savvy investor is just moving away from that. Very difficult to find properties that pencil out, yet alone work out with pen for the numbers on stuff. And that'll come around too. It'll just take time to adjust. But right now, RV parks are freaking amazing. And that's why I'm looking to marry only the best RV parks. And the rates, sure, they'll change over time. And you can always cash things out. You can always adjust your rate and refinance. That's why we say marry the property, date the rate. And lastly, this is one that was harder for me, even though I lived it regardless. And it's a longer one. So this one, number 6, success doesn't consist of never making mistakes, but instead it's never making the same mistake a second time. Right. So you're always going to make mistakes in life. If you try to prevent yourself from never making mistakes, never getting harmed, you're never going to leave your house. You might never leave the room because, oh my gosh, I could trip and fall on this. You wouldn't even move. You're so frozen to the extreme of that type of thought pattern that you're not even going to move. Well, that's no way to live life. That's definitely not a way to move your business, to reach your goals. you definitely need to make mistakes. Now, some of the things that I was mentioning above will help you not have those mistakes, and will fast forward to your track and skip over certain sections like who, not how. Don't make mistakes when other people can just give you those aha moments and you just follow their sage wisdom, right? But here's for instance, we all fly on planes. And if you guys don't know, planes are off course 99.9% of the time, nearly 100% of the time. And they are always adjusting. Sometimes they're flying like completely different because they need to move around certain cloud issues, or it's just that's the pattern that is prescribed for them. And of course, they're not going straight to their destination. They're going up, they're going down, they're doing all these things all around. They're off course, and they're always adjusting because we can always adjust back on course. But making those same mistakes a second time, that's the thing that you really need to learn from, and you need to adjust your business, because you cannot be making mistakes a second time, a third time, a fourth time. And if you've got employees or things that are making those mistakes, for one, you should look at yourself first before you point fingers at employees, because there's always something that you could do better. That's the way that I look at everything as a leader. But always look to improve and put in place SOPs, like standard operating procedures. Just this is how this thing is done, like a McDonald's. It's done the same way every time, because if they find there's a mistake in something, for one, they can change their process. And now everyone, everywhere that's a franchise has the new updated process. So nobody makes those mistakes. It's amazing, right? That's the beauty of having these SOPs and just being very diligent on your process. But even just learning things in your head too, don't make the same mistake again. There's a saying out there that I always love. It's fool me once, shame on you for fooling me. All right, you fooled me though. Maybe it's a scammer, maybe it's something. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, because I should have learned at that point. So it's all about taking action, moving forward. And that's how you get your success, is you got to take the action. You can't just sit there and do nothing, but you're going to make mistakes. So don't think that you got to figure everything out before you move forward. Otherwise everyone's already passed you. Yeah, they might have stumbled and tripped a couple times, but they're already a mile into their run, whatever this thing is. And it might be a mile along the run. They're already at the finish line, where you're just trying to figure out the safest way to plot your course and take your first step, for instance. So don't do that. That just will never achieve anything that you really want. There's so many other tips within this to just move things a heck of a lot faster in life. Right? Good ones. Some of those are amazing. I love all of them. And I wish my previous self would have known those and would have really embodied those without having any ego or fear or worry that I didn't know something, or fear that like everyone was going to think, oh no, Zac doesn't know everything. Like he's asking for help. Well, it's such it's such our culture. Maybe it's more American because every culture is different, but it's our culture that's not to ask for help. And it's generational too. So different generations, some of them do ask for more help. And I'm glad. We really need to do that to move things along faster. But all these tips are absolutely amazing, these secrets. And the beauty of them all is that they apply to all asset classes. So even though I wish I knew this 2 decades ago when I was starting out with no money, destroyed credit, and buying single family homes and doing things like that, luckily, now that I have money, now that I have credit, and I am aware of the beauty of RV parks, that now I can still apply these awesome secrets to RV parks. And that's the absolute beauty behind it, is that you keep moving forward towards your goals, and you're a sum of all those things you used to have. So great stuff, right? I hope you enjoyed this one. Just a little quick recap, gave you these 6 secrets of real estate where that I wish I knew them in the past, but they save you time and their money. Number 1, start with the end and plan your way backwards. Number 2, who and not how. Number 3, creative financing for deal structuring is game changing. Number 4, use other people's money for literally everything. Number 5, marry the property, date the rate. And number 6, success doesn't consist of never making mistakes, but never making the same mistake a second time. Love it, right? Good stuff. Hey, if you relate with any of these, hit me up on any of the social media. I would love to hear your comments on these, some of your stories, or any insights that you might have, questions. I love helping people out in this world. And if these topics interest you and you want to learn more, just stay in touch. You can look in our show notes to become an official Invest In Insider and continue your journey with us. And also, if you want to chat with me directly about investments and learn how you can invest in this awesome asset class of RV parks and everything related to that, you're going to see a link in the show notes where you can schedule that one-on-one discovery call with me and Maverick Asher Capital. So make sure to join us next time for more ways to invest in your mind, your life, and your bank account. Be well, everyone. That's a wrap for this episode of the Invest In podcast. We hope you gained valuable insights to fuel your investment journey.
If you found this episode helpful, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Your support helps us bring more insider knowledge from the top real estate and investment minds.
And if you're ready to take your investments to the next level, follow us on social media at Go Invest In on Instagram, LinkedIn, X, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere for more expert tips, behind-the-scenes content, and exclusive updates.
Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep investing, keep building, and we'll see you on the road.